Well, blessed Thursday to you as we come with your daily encouragement. And we've been hearing the stories of God manifested in the prophet Elijah and the prophet Elisha, mentioned in Jesus' inaugural sermon, for which he got kicked out. He is talking about God's people and foreigners interacting, and God's not cursing the foreigners, but he's healing them. And people are distrusting God's presence, and others are be given an idea to trust God's presence. So what do we have in the situation here? Naaman was sent by the king with letters to the king of Israel. I heard you can heal leprosy, and the king thinks it's a trap. And he says, there's no one here that can heal leprosy. And Elisha the prophet sends words to the king, hey, come on down here. I'm going to take care of Naaman. The question is the king going to trust the prophet of God? He hasn't trusted this prophet for years. His wife is worshiping Baal and other deities. So the question is, will the king send him to this person? In some ways, the king wants to wipe his hands of this situation. And so he said, well, maybe if he displeases Naaman, he can be out of my hands too, and then the king has solved a problem here. But he's still very distrustful about this foreign king sending his top general in to be healed in his land. What if he can't do it? Well, anyways, he's going down to see the prophet Elijah because Elisha requested it. So Nahum came with his horses and chariots and halted at the entrance of Elisha's house. Elisha sent a messenger to him, saying, go and wash in the Jordan 7 times, and your flesh will be restored, and you shall be clean. Now it's very specific, his recommendation. But Nahum thinks that he's beyond being in the Jordan River. But Naaman became angry and went away, saying, I thought that he would surely come out and stand and call the name of Yahweh his Elohim, the Lord his God, and would wave his hand over the spot and cure it of leprosy. Isn't he worth a hand touch? I went to see the Pope, right? And the Pope just said, do this, and didn't even come and talk with me. I don't get a selfie with the Pope, that's basically what Naaman is complaining about. And so what has happened here? But Naaman became angry. And then verse 12. And not Abana and Pharpar, the rivers in Damascus, better than the waters of Israel. Now here it's getting kind of ridiculous. It would be like going, yeah, you come to Albert Lee, we'll have you bathed in the Shell Rock River. And you'd be like, why did I bathe in the Shell Rock River? The Mississippi isn't that far away. Isn't that a better, or even the Minnesota River? You might say we got better rivers around here. That's what Naaman is comparing about. Better than the waters of Israel? Could I not wash in them and be clean? He turned and went away in a rage. Once again, is the king going to trust his prophet? Is Naaman even going to trust this prophet? But what does the servant say? But the servants approached him and said, Father, if the prophet had commanded you to do something difficult, would you have not done it? Yeah, because that's what they did in the Greeks. They had all these tests to show all these difficult things that they had to do in order to show their grace and honor. But he had them do something simple. So he went down, verse 14, and immersed himself 7 times in the Jordan according to the word of the man of God. Because, it isn't necessarily the action per se, it's the commandment. I'm going to put a little side here. Some people question a lot of times what Lutherans teach about baptism and Holy Communion. Because sometimes we might not think that there are any great things. Now, when I was in Israel, I got some water and I was able to baptize my kids in the Jordan River water. But the commandment of the Lord is very clear. It's the water gets its promise not because of where it comes from. I was a little hesitant of doing that, but I thought it'd be kind of a cool thing. My kids were baptized with a little bit of Jordan River water, each one of them. But that didn't make it special. What made it special was the commandment of the word of the Lord, go and baptize all of nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. That's what gives it power. And the commandment to, this is my body, this is my blood, with simple bread, wafers, or wine. Doesn't matter the quality of the wine, even the color of the wine. When I was in Slovakia, they used white wine. It bothered me. I thought it had to be red wine. No, it's the commandment that gives it the promise and gives it the power. And it was from the word of the Lord, the man of God. And so that's what the servant is telling Naaman. Just do what the man of God tells you to do. And then you'll see whether his promise is true. So he went down and immersed himself 7 times in the Jordan, according to the word of the man of God. And his flesh was restored like the flesh of a young boy when he was clean. Isn't that amazing? It was done not because of anything extra that Naaman did, but that he was obedient to the promise of the Lord. Just as the widow of Zarephath, when she fed Elijah, the widow of Zarephath that allowed her dead son to be in Elijah's hands when he revived him. Just as Naaman trusted to go to the king of Israel, even though the king of Israel wasn't even sure and still isn't sure of his prophet Elisha. All of these things require faith. Faith that you trust in the source of your salvation. And that's why I bring up baptism and Holy Communion, because sometimes we think that these rituals are so simple and they become so meaningless because we think about them only once early on and we don't think of it having power after the event happens. When they have lasting power. Why? Not because my hands are holy, definitely not. I even heard of a couple who had heard of a pastor who had gone into ill repute and they wanted their kids rebaptized. And I told them, I'm not going to do it because it wasn't your pastor's hands that initially did the work. It was God's work with his hands. And God's work overcomes any sin, past, present, and future, if it was done rightly in the plan and in the spirit of what the Lord is doing. My friends, we have to look beyond the human flesh, even beyond the actual elements of the water, like here. The water doesn't have to be from Jordan or the Mississippi. It can be from the Shell Rock, or it can be from other ponds. It could be even from our bathtub. What is important is the power comes from the Lord and the Lord alone. God bless you today. And this is where God is manifested, where God's people are doing his work and he shows up. Take care. God bless. We'll see you next time.